All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Your SRN program begins in 30 seconds. Your SRN program begins in 10 seconds. Your SRN program will begin in 5, 4.
Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, in the Hooser Media Network studios, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. It is your weekend edition of the Voice of Reason. Hey, it is so great to have you for another weekend. We are moving through the month of April. Springtime season is officially here, and I know that well because of what we've gone through here in the Mid-America region. Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, northern Texas, even over to Missouri and Iowa and Indiana. We've seen some crazy weather, tornadoes left and right. We are going to talk about that because it does relate to what the heck's happening in Washington, D.C. But it's great to have you here for another weekend as usual, right? Super excited about it. Welcome in, broadcasting out of the heart of the nation in Wichita, Kansas at the Hooser Media Network studios. And we are all over the country. So many great radio affiliates doing our thing. If my sounder wants to play,
we'll do it live.
There we are, across the board with so many great radio affiliates. If you want to find us, you can on our website, HooserReason.com, HOOSER Reason.com. Go check us out there. Also, our social media at Hooser Reason. And if you want any of the podcasts from any of the weekday shows, this and so much more, make sure to find us by typing in the entire name of the show, The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser. All right, we got a lot to get to and a great show lined up today. Scott Jennings, the commentator, the guy that just rails on the Democrats on the CNN network, also host of the Scott Jennings radio show, and of course his book and everything else that he does. He'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. He'll be in Kansas on Tuesday this coming week, as he is our keynote speaker for the Kansans for Life organization. So we'll have him on the program, talk about some of the latest current events and so much more. That being said, there's a lot to talk about, and I have to say this week has been a bad week for Democrats for show as we go into our...
It's your week in review.
Yeah, even though Democrats won some elections in Virginia, won a big election this week, I know the media was all about that, Democrats really had kind of a rough week. The exposing continues on. I've been calling it the great disclosure, the great release of all the information, the underlying shadow work of the shadow government, the parallel government, the establishment, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. It's all beginning to boil to the surface, and it's been going on for a while, but it's getting better. And when I talk about disclosure, I don't just mean the fun ET UFO conversation, which I don't think we'll have time to talk about today. But there's a lot of other disclosure going on today, including, of course, I'm sure you've heard the news this week, where apparently the Southern Poverty Law Center got busted paying more than $3 million to certain organizations, certain racist organizations, certain controversial organizations like the KKK and others. And as we look at disclosure on the fraud and the way that government operates behind the surface, where they say that we're doing something while we're doing something else. The Southern Poverty Law Center is really, you got to be aware, this is nothing new than the way the government operates. This is the exact same thing that every government institution does, every NGO does. They say they're there to fight something, and to keep the fight going, then they have to keep funding the fight from the other side, so that way it continues on. Kind of like a homelessness initiative from the federal government, right? I know, very controversial. People are going to say, wait a second, Andy, what are you talking about on that one?
Say what?
Yeah, homeless initiatives, you spend millions of dollars on the homeless, and then, of course, you don't do anything because if you solve the issue, then the money would go away. So why solve the issue instead of just saying that you're going to continue to fight the issue but not actually do anything? The Southern Poverty Law Center has done the exact same thing, and this is the way every government institution works. And Donald Trump got in some hot water, and I say that loosey-goosey in the air quotes here, as the media asked him about that this week, and he said that it was election fraud and that we should overturn the 2020 election.
The Virginia Department of Elections earlier today and asked them if they had seen any evidence of election tampering, of fraudulent mail ballots being cast in the Tuesday election. Why did you say that that election was rigged?
Well, you have mail-in ballots, and they found a lot of them
at the end of the day, all of
They
a
said that
sudden?
they have received no credible information related to
Well,
this.
I know you'd say that no matter what. You know, you've been saying that for years, and now they're finding out that the 2020 election was totally rigged. And when you look at what just, excuse me, how do you defend what just happened where your Southern law, whatever it is, has given money to KKK? They're supposed to protect people, and they're paying all these people, crooked as can be, millions of dollars going all to all these people that they're supposed to be protecting from, but they're actually supporting them because they want to have companies that they can protect and because they want to rig elections. That was all a rigged election. All of the things with Charlottesville, all of the stuff that they did. And you won't bring that up, but you'll bring up some nonsense. Let me tell you, the election, we were winning all day long. It's a totally horrible situation. Hopefully the courts will overturn it, what they did in Virginia.
All right, so he's kind of got a point there. Andy, what do you mean? He's kind of got a point. You got to remember, the Southern Poverty Law Center is an organization that supposedly fights against racism, against extremist groups, against these organizations that are radicals. As they say, white supremacy has been on the rise over the past few years, especially under the Trump administration. Coincidentally, as they get busted here, which relates to the entire broader spectrum of the Democrat Party. And for those who listen to the show, by the way, know we don't really like to do a lot of the partisan issues. It's more of ideology. It's not really Republican Democrat. It's more establishment, anti-establishment. It's more big government control and limited government control is really where we're at. It's more of an ideological battle. But the big government, the establishment, the shadow government, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, that's how these games are played. The Southern Poverty Law Center is there to, quote unquote, fight extremist groups, radicalism, racism, domestic terrorism, white supremacy. That's what they're there for. And coincidentally get busted spending $3 million on these same organizations, investing in them between 2014 and 2023. And ironically, when was Donald Trump running for office? 2014 to now. And they were spending it 2014 to 2023, and they got busted doing so. So the influence is there, and while they say that white supremacy was on the rise and that these organizations were getting built up, they were the ones funding it, and then turning around and saying, wait a second, Donald Trump got into office, and all of a sudden these racist groups started increasing in popularity. All of a sudden, these racist, extremist, domestic terrorist, whatever groups started getting more influence, started showing up to rallies, started having more influence. And they said that white supremacy was one of the biggest concern in society, which it's not. It's like maybe 2%, 1% of the population. It's not a lot of people, but they said it was on the rise. And it was because of Donald Trump. What it was really about was these guys. So the Democrat Party, again, bigger government ideology, but predominantly under the umbrella of the Democrats, have had kind of a rough week because now they're getting called out on their shenanigans. A press conference from Hakeem Jeffries, because remember, we're still in a government shutdown, no Department of Homeland Security, no ICE, no FEMA, no DHS in general, as we continue to battle that fight. The longest government shutdown, over 67, 68, maybe 70 days by now this weekend, who knows, that was holding a press conference. Hakeem Jeffrey was on the House side, the minority leader, and was trying to explain how it's all Republicans' fault. All this stuff. But then he got called out. Probably, I got to admit, probably one of the best audio clips of the week when a child asked him a question. Now, of course, Hakeem Jeffries thinking, that's probably a safe bet. Let's have the kid ask a question and they'll be like, how come you're so amazing? And then we realized that wasn't really the case.
Why do voters do Democrats so poorly?
Oh. Did your dad give you that question?
All right, hold on. If you didn't hear it, it was a little bit quiet. Why are Democrats so unpopular to voters? That was the question. And he was like, ooh. I'm curious on how he's going to respond to it because he's not one that's really good off the cuff. He just does the rhetorical, regurgitated comments just like the DNC. They give him the talking points. They regurgitate the talking points, and then they go about it. So I'm curious to see how he's going to answer that being caught off guard by being called out. You guys are unpopular. You're doing some shady stuff. And what are you going to respond to this?
Why do voters do Democrats so poorly?
Oh. Did your dad give you that question? It's a great question.
It's a great question. He's stalling. I sense it.
I'm going to have words with you after this, Manu. Listen, I think that we exist in an era right now where the American people are understandably frustrated with institutions. because far too many people in this country are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. They can't thrive and can barely survive. And so there's a frustration with Congress. There's a frustration with institutional political parties, whether that's Democrats or Republicans. Certainly a frustration with the courts, with organized religion, with the media. Frustration with institutions of higher education. And, of course, frustration with the current President of the United States of America. There's a great frustration that applies to every organized institution in this country. And Democrats are not immune from that.
Wow. So that was probably, and that was, by the way, an entire 58 seconds of a response from him. That was the most non-answer I've ever heard in my life. Anybody else catch that? The most non-answer that we've heard in the entire life. And for him to respond that way, that there's a distrust and a frustration in institutions, in organized religion, in government, in organizations in general. Yeah, there's a distrust. Why? Because we just saw something like the Southern Poverty Law Center that's supposed to be fighting extremism, fund the extremism they're supposed to be supposedly fighting, and then blame it on Donald Trump for the rise in these extremist organizations. We have government that keeps secrets from us left and right. We still have the Epstein issue, although most of the documents are out now, even though some of it's still blacked out. People are very frustrated about that. We're probably going to get everything that we have out of that one. Disclosures happening left and right on advanced technology, UFOs, UAPs, if you want to go down that direction. We still have documents about assassinations. We still don't know a whole lot of information about Charlie Kirk. We still don't know a lot of information about old school military operations. There's so much that's been held secret. And there's for so long, the growing government institutions of the socialist programs, Medicare and Medicaid, the SNAP benefits, the Social Security, that now we're finding out about all of this fraud. The great disclosure, right? The age of disclosure. Learning about fraud from Medicare programs and Medicaid programs at a statewide level. Billions upon billions of dollars. Hundreds of hospice facilities, according to J.D. Vance and Dr. Oz, that have been called out and defunded, and they haven't gotten a single call from them saying, hey, where's my money? Nothing like that. Of course, there's a distrust. And for Hakeem Jeffries to first off blow off the reason why Democrats are so unpopular shows that I can spell the desperation, but he doesn't get it. They're so out of touch, they don't realize that the reason they're so unpopular is because they're out there defending the idea that illegal immigrants should be here and we shouldn't punish criminals for being criminals. They don't get the fact that we're exposing fraud left and right, and Democrats are literally continuously trying to defend the social programs that we're exposing all the fraud in. And not just fraud, we're like, we're going to find a way to take advantage, but it seems like it's built institutionally into the system itself. They crafted it to where they allowed it to happen, and the politicians at the federal and at the statewide levels overlooked it, put the blinders on, and just told themselves, these aren't the droids you're looking for. We realized that that's where they were at. They built it into it, and they're defending it, and they continuously not only defend it, but with their federal budgets want to expand on these programs. He doesn't realize that that's why people are frustrated and why Democrats are so unpopular. And what drives me nuts right now is that we're going into a midterm season where Republicans are having to battle this stuff, and the polls are relatively close. That they are so out of touch on the other side that we're still having to battle for our life right now just to kind of scrape by and actually go along with this. That's kind of crazy. We're debating a party right now that still continues to shut down Department of Education, the Department of Homeland Security with DHS funding, with FEMA after massive damage was done over the past week. Tornadoes in Kansas, tornadoes in Oklahoma, wildfires in Nebraska. All across the board, we're seeing these issues. FEMA doesn't have enough money for this. That's being funded through DHS, and Democrats are willing to shut down ICE and keep it shut down for DHS and let all these people suffer because that's the only political leverage they have. It's kind of crazy, man, because they need to do better.
I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
Yeah, we got a lot more to get to here. It's your weekend edition of The Voice of Reason. Stay right here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When America builds, the world follows. Our energy powered the 20th century. We've set the standard for generations, and we never waited for permission. But now, we're being held back. Outdated rules, endless delays. Without permitting reform, Washington's red tape is slowing us down while other nations race ahead. It doesn't have to be this way. We can clear the way for energy that's affordable, reliable, and built right here. Because what's built here is felt here. Lower costs, more jobs, stronger communities. That's what permitting reform makes possible. Energy didn't just shape our country, it powered the American dream. And with our innovation, we can lead the 21st century. Congress has a choice. Build America's energy future or risk falling behind. Tell Congress, pass permitting reform now.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left finds new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back. And that's where we can help. Head to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can find our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Let us know your thoughts on current events with different surveys and chat rooms. And keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Plus, when you head to the website, you can always get great deals and different offers from all of our great radio partners. Finally, if you want more of the show, you can find our podcasts with all of our great episodes and your favorite guests. And make sure to check out the latest Voice of Reason infomercials and maybe some other special content. And it's all because of you being part of the Hoosier-holic family. Let's continue to fight for conservative common sense principles together by going to HooserReason.com. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? How did two guys in a cramped California garage reimagine the phone and put the power of the universe at our fingertips? At Americans for Prosperity, we believe greatness can happen anywhere. We just need freedom and the opportunity to make it real. But today, with a rigid system stifling progress, limiting creativity, and holding us back. That's why at AFP, we offer solutions that tackle the most critical challenges facing our country, so there's nothing standing in the way of America's next breakthrough. Because what we build today doesn't just shape the future, it defines it. How will you be defined? Take your first step today with Americans for Prosperity.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
It's your Patriot on the Prairie. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, it is. What's up, my friends? Welcome back into it. Great to have you here. I didn't want that last segment to sound a little preachy. I'm just the observer, but bad week for the Democrats because they are desperately trying to defend themselves because they have some momentum right now. They don't want that momentum to go away, but every time they get momentum, they kind of take it just a little bit too far. And I think we're starting to recognize that. We saw that in some of the votes this week, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. By the way, there is, speaking of the FEMA relief and the lack of funding there because of Department of Homeland Security and the disasters, as we mentioned, there were some storms that rolled through the Mid-America region this past week. A few days ago, our friends down in Enid, Oklahoma, they got one of the biggest ones. Apparently, it was not even an F3, but an F4 tornado that rolled through the little town of Enid, Oklahoma. Now, we have a lot of listeners out of Enid. In fact, one of my longtime listeners, listener Scott, even before we got on the satellite with all these great radio affiliates across the country, has been listening to the program. He was not impacted, thank God, but he's been on the recovery efforts in the community for the last few days. He sent me a message. We had him on the program on Friday to do a kind of a recap of where they were at and sent me some pictures. We'll share those on social media about the destruction. If you would like to help out, monetary-wise, or send resources to any of the people in the small town of Enid, Oklahoma, you are more than welcome to do so. He did send me some of the information. There is the Salvation Army that is in Oklahoma, and you can give them a call at 580-275-8442. 580-275-8442. You can also send information or some money to the Cherokee Strip Community Foundation Disaster Relief Fund. Also, the United Way of Enid, Oklahoma. That's ENID, the United Way of Enid and Northwest Oklahoma. So different ways that you can send some monetary funds, help out some of the people affected by that massive tornado that just hit a few days ago. And we appreciate your support. We want to get that out there. Our listeners love helping out that way, and especially great listeners to this program that were drastically affected. Again, the United Way of Enid and Northwest Oklahoma. Speaking, by the way, we're going to do a segment we have not done in a while on the show, and that is listener emails and social media responses, because we have a new segment on our show.
What's in the mailbox?
Twitter. Tweet.
Okay. If you want to send us a message, you always can on the radio program on our website, HooserReason.com. Also send it on our social media at any of them with the same hashtag at HooserReason. One of the messages we got this week, government people don't seem to realize the waste, fraud, and abuse that mounts up to a lot of money. Their answers is that it's not much, so just don't worry about it. What a bunch of wimps. They're paid to not solve problems, and it makes me sick. And you know what, listener Doug out of Wichita, Kansas, you are absolutely right. They are a bunch of wimps, and we need to address it. That was one of the statements actually from Governor Tim Walz up in Minnesota this week was, it's been going on that fraud's always going to happen. So again, as kind of a quote from Hillary Clinton, at what point does it really matter? There's always going to be fraud. Why try to fight it? We just need to accept that it's going to be there. So your taxpayer money in the sums of billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, you just need to accept it. There's going to be fraud, and don't try to fight it. Kind of crazy. The out-of-touch Democrat Party has not only kept you suffering through the lack of ICE, through the lack of Border Patrol, through the lack of FEMA that's going on with the shutdown in Department of Homeland Security, they also did some major votes this week, including the redistricting in the state of Virginia, going from the congressional lines of a 6-5 majority for Democrats to a 10-1. Now, the courts are challenging this, and I'm an optimistic guy. You know me on this program, I'm the eternal optimist. I really think that's going to be overturned. There is zero way that a court could sit there and say, yeah, with 40% of the state of Virginia being registered Republicans-ish, that only one congressional district is going to represent them while we go to a 10-1 ratio. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it is going to be challenged. And oh, by the way, for those on social media saying, well, it's just a response to Texas, it is, but it's also not, because Democrats have been the masters of playing this game for a long time, and we will beat you, and we will win on the gerrymandering and redrawing the lines once you understand exactly how we draw lines to best represent the American people in a state-by-state district. We're going to talk some more about that a little bit later on the program. Scott Jennings coming up right around the corner here for The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When you choose Patriot Mobile,
all right, nice segment, my man.
Provider, you're choosing a company that shares your values.
I thought that was fun.
It's easy to switch,
right?
And you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
Andy's latest product.
it's your Voice of Reason product spokesperson. And if you're like the average progressive socialist in America, the celebration of the end of the Donald Trump presidency is ongoing. The problem is that Joe Biden may not have been the candidate for you to get the things done you wanted to get done.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
But now I'm here to say, don't worry. Your concerns about a dementia-ridden racist elite are just minutes away from disappearing with our all-new Voice of Reason product. Now introducing the Voice of Reason's Biden Basement Starter Pack. Now, just 1 year into the Biden administration is the perfect time to get your Biden Basement Starter Pack and finally begin to understand the mind of such an unrecognized genius.
The Biden Basement Starter Pack includes your Joe Biden decoder ring.
Now you can truly understand the secret messages that Joe Biden was really sending to his supporters when other people thought it was just gibberish.
That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air.
Your progressive white supremacy exemption card.
Let's be honest, you're just as much of a racist white supremacist as the evil conservatives that you hate, but with your white supremacy exemption card, you're completely immune from the transparency and accountability of racial comments or thoughts that you may have, giving you more time to focus on destroying Republicans for the evil, closed-minded bigots that you know that they are.
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
Your brand new crisp but $100 bill.
If Nazi Republicans won't let you pass universal basic income, or as we like to call it, child tax credits, the next best thing is a newly printed bill with absolutely zero value. Show it to your right-wing friends and remind them that you're entitled to that cash just for existing. Plus, when the economy you create is so good that everything doubles in price from inflation, you'll be prepared.
Well, folks, eliminate one tax loophole out of $1.6 trillion worth, $1.4 trillion worth. Out of $1.4 billion. It's hard to even say it, it's so much. And by the way, it's cost a lot of money. It cost about $740 billion over 10 years.
Also enjoy your crime immunity card.
Sure, crime rates and hate crimes around the nation are rising all over the place, but now with your crime immunity card, you'll be completely protected from criminals taking advantage of the loosening liberal crime laws. Just show your crime immunity card to any criminal that you may come across and let them know that you support their movement to balance out injustices in society. Who needs a gun for protection when you have your crime immunity card? It's all included in your Biden Basement Starter Pack that's available right now.
But wait, there's more.
Order now and get the latest item that's now included in your Biden Basement Starter Pack. Now introducing your all-new, never-before-used crack pipe.
Say what?
Freshly minted from the Department of Health and Human Services, the Biden crack pipe will help with all your injustices in your life and raise your government-valued equity. It's the perfect way to forget all about the worries and gaffes of the Biden administration and continue to be that leading example of leadership in the progressive movement. And now you can get your Biden crack pipe in multiple different styles and colors. And for a limited time only, when you purchase your Biden Basement Starter Pack with your new Biden crack pipe, you can get your own personalized handwritten letter with tips and tricks on the best way to use your crack pipe directly from the aficionado himself, Hunter Biden.
Say what?
It's 4 incredible products, your Biden crack pipe and your personalized Hunter Biden letter, all for one great low price. Take your support for the Democrat Party and the Biden administration to another level with the Voice of Reason's Biden Basement Starter Pack. Low promotional price does not include inflational adjustments. Your Biden Basement Starter Pack may be delayed in shipping due to supply chain issues caused by successful Biden economic policy and current COVID-19
Find
mandates.
more products from the Voice of Reason online at HooserReason.com.
Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic.
truth, reason, and common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, you betcha. Welcome back into it. It is your weekend edition of The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. Always a pleasure to have you along for the ride. So a lot of the conversation that's been going on with this past week, what's going on this weekend, has really been revolving around midterm election season. And what are the topics? I'm curious to see what the main issues are going to be to drive people to the polls in November. It's going to be interesting to watch and pay attention to. Right now, one of the issues as we talk about some of the wins of the Trump administration has been the pro-life movement, even though apparently he has been upsetting the religious vote with the battle against the Pope and the AI picture and everything else that he's been doing. But nonetheless, he has been focused a lot on the pro-life movement and one of the most pro-life organizations and the pro-life administration in modern American history. I'd say that's pretty good, right? Yeah. But that leads us to our next guest on the program, and I cannot wait to chat with him, and I know that you will recognize his voice. He is the guy behind enemy lines each and every day. He's going to be in my market here in the city of Wichita this coming week. Our great organization here in Kansas, Kansans for Life, they have their annual banquet on Tuesday this week, and he will be the keynote speaker for that one. He'll also be hosting his radio show from my flagship station, KQAM, on Tuesday as well while he is in town. But I want to go right to it because I cannot wait to have him on the program.
Let's go to the Hoosier Media Hotline.
That's right. As he is a commentator, radio host, and author of his book as well. And you probably hear him as the lone voice of common sense and reason on the network of CNN, battling the crazies each and every day. Really excited to have on the program Mr. Scott Jennings. Scott, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. Great to hear your voice and looking forward to getting out to Wichita. It's going to be a great trip.
Yeah, it's going to be a great trip. I can't wait to get you out here to the Mid-America region, out here to Wichita, Kansas, my flagship area, and for you to speak at Kansans for Life. I know the pro-life issue has been really important for you, so you being the keynote speaker is going to be perfect, and it's going to be really awesome to have you out and speak to a lot of us. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. I want to talk about what you do on a regular basis, going behind enemy lines, man. How does it feel to be on that battlefront each and every day, dealing with the crazies out there and trying to put CNN, which, I mean, I got to admit, you're kind of the highlight of CNN in general because outside of that, there's a lot of insanity that goes on that network. How does it feel to be the lone voice of common sense on that network and actually put these people in their place?
Well, it's interesting to say the least because, as you know, I'm usually not just debating one person. I'm debating 4 or 5 people plus an anchor at the same time. And so it's quite an arena. But truthfully, I consider it to be a privilege, and I think it's also very important that we go and talk to people that don't agree with us. I think if you're a conservative and you have confidence in your ideas and you have confidence in, the facts and what you believe, you can win a lot of arguments. And I think I do pretty well out there by just frankly remaining calm, sticking to the facts, and trying to, bring a little common sense to conversations that admittedly are often framed a little bit off the rails.
Well, it's very true, and it seems like it's all emotional arguments, right? I mean, we always talk about when conservatism has a place and we have the conversation, conservatism wins because we have the logic, we have the facts. The other side is very emotionally driven because it's all about emotion. It's about how you feel. It's not about the reality of what's really going on, and it seems like that's kind of how things lay out when you talk to them, which is why you trigger them so easily, and it's entertaining to watch for sure, but how far does an emotional argument actually go when you're trying to fix an issue or address a particular issue in society?
Well, you have described exactly what their strategy is, and I've noticed this night after night. They don't really want to debate you on the facts or on the logic or on the reality. They want to drag you into this emotional mud pit. And, that's the trouble with, what's the old saying, wrestling with pigs, don't do it because everybody gets dirty and they like it.
That's right.
They want to drag you as far away from logical, sort of common sense conversations as they can, because that's how they try to overwhelm our political system with anecdotes that often are very vague in nature, with emotional appeals. And that's how they try to bog down, most arguments and most political conversations. And you just have to resist it. And they make it hard because you got 4 or 5 people out there who are feeding off of each other's emotions.
Yeah.
And you want to be the one sort of calm, sane person in the group and not take the bait, essentially, is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so here's the big question then, Scott. Is it really working? I mean, obviously, they're talking heads on a network, and they have their agenda. They have their shtick that they're supposed to stick with, and they have a network that likes and historically has promoted a particular agenda in one side of the aisle for sure. But behind the scenes, what's that like? I mean, has there been anybody that comes up to you and says, hey, you know what, you made a really great point here? Or, hey, you know what, I didn't really think about it that way. Or, hey, you know what, I actually kind of agree with you. I'm just not allowed to say that. I mean, what's that conversation look like behind the scenes when the camera's turned off?
Well, behind the scenes, I have to say, for most of us who work at CNN, we actually are a little community, and we do get along. I'll just tell you, my two best friends at the network are David Axelrod and Van Jones. I tell people that, and folks are often surprised to hear it. But look, these are two experienced guys, and I think they debate in good faith. I can't say that about everybody that comes out there, of course, but those are two great examples of people that you can respect because they have experience, and they also listen. The one thing that drives me the craziest is when people don't listen. You'd be shocked at the lack of active listening that goes on a television set. A lot of people show up and they have their 3 points that they're going to read, and that's what they're capable of doing. But not as many people as you'd imagine are capable of listening and then reacting to an actual conversation. To me, that's the best content. And behind the scenes, to your question, if you're in an active listening situation and I listen to you and make a good retort, or you listen to me and you make a good retort, just as professionals, you can always say, oh, that was a great point, or, oh, you really, that was a really good, rhetorical device you just used. So I respect that, but you don't get that when people don't listen. And so people ask me sometimes, what's your best advice for debating? Listen to what's happening, because if you listen, you can almost always find the correct question to ask a liberal that they cannot answer.
Yeah, it's a really great point. We're talking with Scott Jennings. He's a commentator and host, author, and so much more. Let's talk about the movement right now with the MAGA movement, the Trump administration. We're going into midterm season for sure. I know there's a lot of uncertainty with the Iranian conflict that's going on right now. But from what you've seen, the polls that the mainstream media is releasing, the support of President Trump, the support of the conflict in Iran, is it wavering? Is it waffling? And are you getting a little concerned about what we may see come November in the midterms?
Well, look, I mean, I'm an old political operative, so I'm constantly nervous, about every election, whether the polls are good or whether the polls are bad.
You're in a constant state of anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get too high and I don't get too low, and I try not to overreact to things. So, of course, I mean, history would tell you that the party in power is probably not going to do as well. That's not has anything to do with Trump. It just has everything to do with the way our elections work. I look at the polls just like you do. I also look at the calendar, and it says it's April. And so there's a long way to go between now and then. Regarding the issues, I mean, every election's about the economy.
Sure.
And people who are like, oh, the president, realize he knows. I mean, everybody in politics knows the elections are about the economy.
Sure.
And so that's not a surprise. And if you talk to his political team and the economic team, they firmly believe the things they put in place last year are going to bear fruit for the American people. But that's on them, and it's not just on them as a policy matter. It's on the party as a messaging matter to have that conversation with the American people. On Iran, look, I don't think national security decisions should be made based on elections. Right. I think they should be made on national security, and the president's clear policy is, I'm not going to let these people have a nuclear weapon. And so in my view is, it would be worse politics to manage this based on polls and calendars. And I wouldn't do it. I would resist the urge to do that. I would see it through. If you think they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon and that's your policy, then make it happen. And that'll be the best politics for him. Whether it happens today or 2 weeks from today or whenever, that's the best way to manage it.
Yeah, and Donald Trump, in my opinion, has done a very good job, both in his first term and now, of doing things that he feels is right, regardless of what the polls say, and actually just driving through to complete the agenda, knowing that a lot of people don't like the in-between. They don't like the shakeup. They don't like the uncertainty. They don't want the vote to be rocked in any form. But once it's done at the end of the day, things will be better, and he sees that, and that's why he continues on. So I give him kudos for that one. But, Scott, going into midterm season, are we, as Republicans, do we have a messaging concern right now. I've been saying it. Donald Trump has been the most productive administration in modern American history. People may not like the productivity, but he's been the most productive trying to get things done on so many different issues over the past year alone that it almost seems like it's made it difficult for the Republican Party to message going into this midterm election, because we have a lot of wins, but there's still a lot of, loose ends or ties that we haven't finished up yet. The Iranian deal, the Epstein files, the economy, the gas prices, whatever else that people are lingering out right now and they're frustrated about, but they forgot about all of the wins that we've seen over the past year. So going into midterms right now, are we over our heads? Are we not figuring out how to properly message? We saw the election in Virginia with the redistricting that happened this past week that obviously maybe Republicans just didn't quite figure out how to message that one to the people in Virginia. I don't really know, but do we have a messaging problem, and is that going to affect us, do you think, going into November?
Well, it's a great question that strategists often wrestle with in campaigns. Do we try to explain to people what we did, or do we try to talk to people about what we want to do?
Yeah.
You know, are elections about the past? Are they about the future? And I think it's good to tout the things that you've done. I mean, look, I agree with you. I think the Republicans have had a great run. I think Trump's executive actions on many fronts were very popular. I think the tax cuts were popular. And so you have things to talk about. But to some degree, elections are aspirational. You know, if you put us in charge, here's what we want to do. Here's where we want to take you. And also to some degree, elections are choices. And it's not, you know, you're not sort of running in a vacuum. You're running against another party. And I think part of the strategy here has got to be explaining, you know, you cannot put these people back in charge. They're the ones who caused the inflation crisis in the first place. They're the ones who are still trying to put boys in girls' locker rooms and so on and so forth. You have to remind people that there is another party. And when you gave them power, they screwed up this country royal. Donald Trump inherited a deep hole, and he's trying to climb out of it. But Rome wasn't built in a day.
Well, that is very true, and it's going to take some time to redirect the course that we've been on for a very long time. Scott, hang on the line. Would love to continue the chat with you. It is Scott Jennings. You can find him on CNN, also the Scott Jennings Radio Show, author of his book, and so much more. We'll continue this conversation and more when we come back right around the corner for the Voice of Reason.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
For too long, Washington has said no to builders, workers, and American families, and yes to bureaucracy, delay, and special interests. Let's flip that. Say yes to building more housing, and no to government mandates that block it. Yes to permitting American energy, and no to endless red tape. Yes to putting patients in charge of healthcare, and no to letting insurance companies call the shots. Higher costs? No. An affordable America? Yes.
Hey, did you know that you can have multiple different networks on one single smartphone? Well, with Patriot Mobile, you can. It's time for you to sign up for the Patriot Mobile primary phone plan with plans as low as $15 a month, where you can have 2 numbers and 2 networks on one single phone. And right now, if you sign up using the promo code REASON, you can get an entire month absolutely free. It's the Patriot Mobile One plan. 1 phone, 2 numbers, and 2 networks. And it's all at patriotmobile.com/reason. Again, patriotmobile.com, and use the promo code REASON. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? Our country's greatest breakthroughs were born from bold ideas and the ability to take one small step forward. At Americans for Prosperity, freedom and opportunity find their defenders. Because our country's next giant leap is just around the corner. Are you ready to step up?
For more information, go to takeonesmallstep.com. Hey, the live show may be almost over today, but it doesn't have to be for you. As always, enjoy the Voice of Reason with our daily podcast by finding the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites. Just find us, subscribe, have it automatically downloaded, and listen at your convenience whenever you want to bring some more reason into your day. And a lot of people are doing it. Also, you can always find the video of the show, along with articles, additional commentary, and maybe a few sarcastic remarks by following us on our social media. Stay up to date with everything going on with the show, including upcoming guests, breaking news stories, interesting articles, and maybe some memes. Help us in the ongoing battle with censorship and shadow banning from social media by following us on the social media at Hooser Reason on all of our social media sites. For all these social media links, podcast links, contact information, or just general information of the show, go to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can listen live every day, read our latest monthly blog, find our radio affiliate list, or even listen to our latest infomercials and special content. Plus, you can always reach out to the program by sending me a message on social media, emailing us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or sending an email through our website at HooserReason.com. Whether it's content on the show, whether it's a guest that you've liked or disliked, or whether you want to disagree with me, and disagreements always appreciated. While you're there, make sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. Each month you'll get the latest update on the show, updates from the Hooser Media Network, and our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Finally, if you want to help support the show, become a member of our Patreon site and help us fight for the cause of truth, reason, and common sense every day, and get more of the same by becoming the ultimate Hoosierholic. Get additional interviews that sometimes we don't always get to air on the radio. Hear our special segments or even our infomercials before anyone else, and have a chance to chat with other great Hoosierholics from all over. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, you're not only helping the fight for conservative values, you're helping us get more content and information out through the Hooser Media Network. Find out more information online at HooserReason.com. Lastly, follow and support all of our partners with the show. The Voice of Reason has been growing more and more every year, and it's because of so many great partners helping us get the message out to you. From show partners to local radio affiliates in your area to streaming sites, podcasting sites, and more, we have so many supporters and listeners now than ever before, and we want to thank you. It's time to bring back common sense, and we do it right here every day with the Voice of Reason.
Where Hoosierholics gather every week. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, welcome back to it. Great to have you here as we're wrapping things up for this hour of the program. So much to get to, man, and so little time to do it. Real quick, want to tell you about my friends over at Americans for Prosperity. As you know, we are going into midterm season. We want that affordability plan done, which means we need to put pressure on Congress. And I want you to go to a website, which is americansforprosperity.org/affordability. And you can see the affordability agenda plan from Americans for Prosperity. Ways that we can put pressure on Congress: permitting reform for energy, deregulation across the government, tax cuts across the board. So many ways where we can see the quote-unquote golden age of America that Donald Trump has promised, and we can do that. Donald Trump's working on it. Congress needs to do it as well, and you can be part of that movement. See exactly what that agenda looks like, what you can do to put pressure on your elected official, and how you can help out with that movement with our friends over at Americans for Prosperity. Again, it's americansforprosperity.org/affordability, americansforprosperity.org/affordability. All right, we're having our conversation with the man himself, Scott Jennings, the guy behind enemy lines in the nation, as he is on CNN each and every day, and you can find him there. Also, host of his Scott Jennings radio show, author of his book, and so much more. Scott, I got to express my frustration for just a bit, and you see it obviously every day on CNN, but how in the world, as we go and we see the polls, and obviously midterm season, as you said, that predominantly the minority party does relatively well in the midterm season, but how in the world is the Republican Party struggling to deal with a party right now that is in complete shambles like the Democrats, when you have leaders that are like Kamala Harris and AOC and Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett? How are we struggling to compare to that kind of party that's in shambles and about ready to collapse?
Well, it's interesting, when you're the party in power and you're running against the out party, they don't really have one singular leader. Sometimes it's harder to run against, 8 or 9 different people than it is to run against just one person, And so I agree with you. Fundamentally, these people they're elevating are wackadoos and socialists and Marxists, and they would love to destroy the United States of America. I'll tell you one other thing as a tactical matter I think the party should think about focusing on. So they're getting ready to do this budget reconciliation, which they need to do to fund the immigration and border patrol stuff. They could put other things in there. They could do further tax cuts. They could do things on housing. They could do things on energy. There's other things they could do.
The SAVE Act.
And the message, and the Save America Act, you could do other things. The message to the American people is that you gave us power, and we're using that power to achieve priorities. So I know there are some Republicans who kind of want to go the skinny route and just do the immigration piece. I mean, look, we're Republicans, and the one unifying thing across the entire party is we like to cut taxes, and people like it when we cut taxes.
Yeah.
At a minimum, I think I would think about heading in that direction. A tax cut for working-class Americans sounds like pretty good politics to me and policy to me right now.
Yeah, it sounds like a great way to get Republicans enthused again, because right now I think a lot of voters are upset with Congress and the Republican leadership in Congress to actually get some things done. We got just about a minute left here, Scott, and I appreciate your time very much. It's Scott Jennings, commentator, author, and so much more, host of his own radio show as well, The Scott Jennings Show. You're coming to Wichita here in the next week for the Kansans for Life banquet as the keynote speaker. Real quickly, talk about the pro-life movement and where that's been under the Trump administration. Are we getting better pro-life issues in the nation right now under Trump compared to what we've seen in the past?
Well, I think the court appointments speak for themselves. The Supreme Court speaks for itself. I think the president's been the most pro-life president we've ever had. So broadly, I think the answer to your question is yes. I'm coming to do this event because I've been talking a lot lately about Western civilization, and the right to life and the inherent worth of every human being is the principal underpinning of Western civilization. And I think if we lose this and we don't fight for the inherent dignity and worth of every human, then we lose ourselves. We lose our country. We lose our civilization. And I do think Trump is standing up for that better than any president we've ever had.
Amen to that. I love it, Scott Jennings. We look forward to seeing you in Wichita next week. Keep up the fight on Behind Enemy Lines, my friend. It's always entertaining to watch, and God bless you for doing it, my brother. Let's get you back on and do it again soon.
Thanks for the time. Always great to get to Middle America. Get out of the swamp and get back to Middle America. That's what I'm looking forward to it.
I can only imagine. I'm sure it's going to be nice for you to get out of New York, get out of Washington, D.C., get out of that swamp area. We'll bring you here to the Mid-America region. We'll get you some barbecue. We'll have a great time, and we look forward to seeing you here in Kansas on Tuesday. For those around the country that can hear as he's traveling around the country, the keynote speaker for our Kansans for Life here in our state. Scott Jennings, we appreciate him very much as he is gone now, and we thank him so much for his time. We'll get him back on the show again soon. Great conversation. I really enjoyed that, and man, he's a fireball. We need more of that. We don't have a lot of shows any longer on radio and on TV where there's a lot of the back and forth and a lot of that debating. Because as we mentioned, conservatism wins. We will always win when we actually have the dialogue and the conversation, but we're not allowed to have that. It's so fragmented nowadays that you don't get much of that dialogue. So God bless him for doing that, and cannot wait to see him in person. Though we are out of time, my friends. We'll be back at it again before you know it. There's so much more to cover. Until then, be your own voice of reason. Be that catalyst for change. It is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We will see you back on the radio soon here. Bye.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off...
All right, nice hour, my man. I'm going to step out for a sec. I'll be right back.
All right, you bet. Yep, I'll be back in a minute, too. Even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.
As you know, I'm always looking for a good snack, but it's hard to find good quality snacks without all the unhealthy additives. But now that problem is over. It's time to enjoy J&S Smoked Snacks. Real cuts of beef, real wood smoke, and real flavor that's crafted in small batches to keep every bag fresh. I promise you'll be addicted. And with numerous different flavors, you'll never get enough. This is not your average gas station jerky. It's J&S Smoked Snacks. Find them online at jssmokedsnacks.com and tell them I sent you.
Radio. Miss any part of the show? Well, don't worry. Now's your chance to go find the podcast and listen to as much of the Voice of Reason as you'd like. As the show continues to grow all across the nation with great radio affiliates, we also continue to grow as one of the top conservative podcasts, ranked 5th on the MillionPodcast.com Best 50 Conservative Leadership Podcasts in the nation, and number 1 on FeedSpot.com's 30 Best Conservative Talk Shows in the country. The show continues to grow each and every day. Just find us on any of your favorite podcasting sites at The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser. All right.
All right, my man, back with you. Ready for hour 2?
You betcha. Heck yeah. By the way, this week, probably, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, I'll be sending you some new ads to swap out. And I think actually some new imaging and some new rejoin beds and stuff too. So
awesome. Let's do it.
Freshen things up a little bit. Got some new sponsors coming on. That's exciting.
Sweet.
Heck yeah. Scott's a fun guy. That was a fun interview.
That was very, very good. Yes.
Where in the world? Oh, shoot. I forgot my cell phone upstairs. I'll be right back. All right.
Your SRN program begins in 60 seconds.
Hoorah.
All right.
Your SRN program begins in 30 seconds. Your SRN program begins in 10 seconds. Your SRN program will begin in 5, 4.
Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, in the Hooser Media Network studios, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, here we are. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. It is your weekend edition of the Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hooser. It is so great to have you with us here as you are doing your thing for another weekend. It is springtime, warmer weather. I went to, actually, you'll enjoy it because I know for those that have listened to this program for any stint of time, you laugh at me with my weather preferences. I was based here in Wichita, Kansas, obviously. Welcome aboard. Broadcasting, let's do this thing. Broadcasting out of the heart of the nation in Wichita at the Hooser Media Network studios. We are all over the country, though, with so many great radio affiliates doing our thing.
We'll do it live!
Like we do every single weekend here on the show. Yeah, it's springtime and it's getting warmer, and I have to do some serious reconsideration of where we're at here in Kansas because I was at one of our favorite things. Yes, I'm a dork. You can laugh at me. It's okay. The family, we were all at our Renaissance Festival this past weekend. My wife has a booth out there with her product. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we are out there, and we are out for the entire day for the Renaissance Festival, and I got heat sickness. Now, granted, the temperature was a blazing, sunny 75 degrees. And I got heat sickness, like legit heat sickness. I had to stop a couple times on the way home and go onto the side of the street because I was not feeling well. Yet that type of heat from 75 degrees. Now that it's going to get into the 80s and the 90s, and even here in Kansas, we like to see triple digits during the summertime. I am not looking forward to that. So get outside and I guess and enjoy the outdoor weather before it gets too terribly hot and global warming takes over. Yeah. All right, welcome into the show. Great to have you. Our great producer, Derek, down in Dallas. Welcome aboard, my friend. We have Trumpy Bear, my executive producer here in studio, and, of course, Cornelius, if you're watching the video stream, which you can on any of your favorite social media sites at Hooser Reason. We have the video feed up and going this weekend as well. Cornelius, my green-headed alien intern behind me, watching the ways of the world. Got a big show lined up for you this hour. Kent Strang, he is the managing director for our partners and friends over at Americans for Prosperity. He'll be joining us. We're going to talk about the prosperity and affordability agenda going into midterm season. What does that look like? Permitting reform, getting energy back on track, and the economy by bringing in the golden age of America. So we'll chat with him about that in just a little bit. I have to admit, this year is going to be awesome. I know you're excited about it. I'm excited about the 250th birthday of the nation right around the corner. I am really looking forward to, even though I'm a little sad that it's not happening on 4th of July, but it's happening on, June 13th, June 14th, I believe, the UFC fight that's going to be on the White House lawn. That's going to be kind of cool. But a lot of celebration going on all year long for the 250th under the Trump administration, making it a year-long celebration. But something's been popped up with an idea this year, and it's been apparently revealed this weekend.
It's your week in review.
With one individual saying we should take it to a whole new level. And if we are going to celebrate the 250th birthday, and if we are going to celebrate patriotism and Americanism in the individuating of the United States from the rest of the world, we should probably do something else as well. Interesting perspective from one guy by the name of Rob Lockwood with his statement. He was on Fox and Friends on Saturday morning this weekend and said this.
Yeah, when you look at the 250th birthday, it's a monumental achievement for freedom. And we declared our independence, like you said, 250 years ago. And some say that the fact that the label of the English language still exists is a relic of the regime from which we liberated ourselves. And so when I worked at the Interior Department with Secretary Burgum, he used to often remind us, both privately and publicly, how lucky America is that President Trump is in charge of these festivities, because he's somebody who at his core has deep conviction for American excellence, and he's the greatest marketer in the history of mankind. And if you look at what the president has planned, starting last year with the Paul Revere reenactment in Boston, with the Army Parade in D.C., which is both powerful and patriotic. He's going to put the UFC octagon steps away from the Oval Office on the White House lawn. That's iconic. There's going to be a Grand Prix in the streets of D.C. That's epic. There's the Great State Fair, Mount Rushmore fireworks. You name it. This is tremendous. That basically in 250 years from now at the USA 500, when we'll be speaking American, I think, they're going to look back and say, how do we top that? And what's different with my idea that's proposed here that many support in the column is that unlike an event or an experience that President Trump is setting an unreal bar for, changing a language is permanent. It's something that will be with us for the rest of our lives that we'll be reminded of, whereas events or experiences, by definition, they're temporary. And so if there ever was a time to take a stand for America and for speaking American, the 250th anniversary of freedom is it.
I mean, all right. So not sure if you caught that one. It's a piece out of his Washington Post op-ed. This Rob Lockwood, a former advisor for Doug Burgum, and that conversation happening on Fox and Friends this weekend, Saturday morning, and said that if we're going to go big, I mean, that's what America's about, right? Bigger, better, faster, stronger. It's what we do, baby. It's what we're all about. I like that idea. If we're going to do that, we might as well take it to another level and make the official language in the United States not just English, but take it to another level and just make it American. I know. Interesting concept, right? I don't know. I mean, look, the English language, we are speaking the English language, but at the same time, it is a lot different from the actual English over in England, and we are trying to individuate ourselves. And if we are going to separate ourselves from England back there in 1776, and now 250 years later, we're going to do it again with our language and not call it the English language, but call it the American language. Kind of an interesting concept. I mean, look, I guess you could do that. To be fair, a lot of nations, when they do individuate themselves and they separate from their founding nations, they don't necessarily call their language the same language that they had. The nation's not called the same thing, and we do have a vastly different dialect. In fact, most English folk that do come over from the UK don't understand the southern accent that we have in the south part of the nation. We have the Boston accent on the East Coast. We have the interesting accents on the West Coast. We have the Minnesotan and Montanian, if that's how you call it, Montanian dialect on the northern part. People say I have a dialect. I don't know that I necessarily do an accent, but we have a lot of different accents for sure. Maybe we should just embrace the fact that now it's going to be the American dialect. Interesting thoughts. Haven't really thought of that one, but why the heck not? So that would lead to, of course, now we have the Department of Transportation suspending individuals from driving on the road if they're an illegal alien, if they can't read our signs, if they can't speak English in some fashion, that now you have to not only speak English, but you have to speak American. Why not? You I'm waiting. And it's not going to happen until Monday because the 24/7 news cycle from the other side, they're not going to catch this one until late on Sunday or on Monday. But they're going to respond in kind the way they did with the Gulf of America, very angry of why we're just calling everything American, why we're being such a nationalist nation, and why we're so embracing the America First idea. They're going to lose their minds and be triggered on that one just as much as they were with the Gulf of Mexico versus the Gulf of America. And calling this, how dare you say that you have to now speak American? I find it hilarious. I'm okay with it. Why the heck not? All right.
What's trending today?
That was the breaking news this week and probably the biggest story out there. Outside of that, there are some other issues right now. Congress still in a quagmire right now. The Senate is still looking to try and pass Department of Homeland Security funding. We are now forming a reconciliation framework bill that will fund ICE, that will fund the rest of Department of Homeland Security, among other things as well. One of the first reconciliation bills that Congress is looking at for this year. And I think they're beginning to expedite it because they're starting to feel the pressure. Polls show that right now Republican voters not very happy with the lack of action from Congress codifying the Trump agenda. Democrats gaining momentum for whatever reason because they're just not very good.
I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
And they don't have a leader. They don't know exactly what they're going to campaign on other than focusing on identity politics. But right now, we're working on a framework. The Senate did an overnight marathon vote on Wednesday this week. They passed it early on Wednesday morning, punting the framework over to the House. More than likely, it's going to be revamped and then sent back over to the Senate, and it'll go back through that process over and over again. President Trump, starting off this weekend on Saturday, also posting a Truth Social post that is advocating for the passage of the Save America Act. Now, if you remember, the Trump administration, Donald Trump did say that he would not sign any other piece of legislation until the SAVE Act is done. John Thune has essentially just given up on it. We're not doing the filibuster vote, which is really unfortunate. Like people, bodies in the Senate chamber voting at the time to hopefully wait for Democrats to get wore out and then we pass it without them. We're not doing that. We did a semi-quasi kind of filibuster right before the Easter holiday when Congress went on recess, and then we forgot all about it. We came back and he's like, that's about all we're going to do. Now we're going to work on this framework and we're doing something different. Donald Trump not very happy about that. And he's made it official now. A controversial idea about ending the filibuster altogether. Here's what he said this morning on Saturday. Not passing the America Save Act will lead to the worst results for a political party in the history of the United States Senate. An unrecoverable death wish. Likewise, the filibuster, terminate it now. In all caps, Donald J. Trump. Now, before, he said he was open to the idea, did not explicitly advocate for the end of the filibuster. And it's been a hot topic in a divisive manner in Republicans across the board, but it sounds like maybe there is now the time to do so. Some say, well, Andy, if Democrats get the power, they're going to do the same thing. They're already going to do the same thing. They don't care. You got to remember, Democrats, just like we're seeing right now with the government shutdown, we want you to suffer as much as possible until you get our way. According to Hakeem Jeffries, which is why the unpopularity right now, when even asked by a child, why are you so unpopular, is because they don't care. They know Republicans don't have much of a huevos, don't have much of a spine to reverse their policies. So even when the pendulum swings the other way, then they know that they don't have to worry about it. Republicans will hold power. We just keep them stagnant. We play the games. We make them scared of their own shadow. We have the media hold them accountable. And then when we come back in, meaning Democrats, whenever that may be, then we have a new starting point. And it's where we left off last time. They never reverse anything. They never repeal any of our agenda. So whether we're out 2 years or 4 years, Democrats come back in. They have a new starting point because Republicans don't do anything. And they will get their way, whatever. And then they'll push the envelope further. And it's an unpopular one. And then we vote Republican, and they're like, okay, whatever. It's okay. We'll just continue on later on whenever we get back into power. That is the mindset, unfortunately, Republicans have to take themselves. In my opinion, I've said it for a while, I think we need to repeal the filibuster. Be done with it. Simple majority vote, and we have a limited time. It's already, almost to the end of April? May, June, July, August, September, October. 6 months, essentially, before the elections. Where's Congress at? The Trump administration, the most productive administration in modern American history, sitting on 300 to 400 executive orders, trying to fast track things through the executive branch. It needs to be codified through Congress. And what are they doing? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we got to take it to another level here. And Congress, if we're able to get a simple majority vote before the election, by the way, and we're building a reconciliation bill, why wouldn't they include the SAVE Act in the reconciliation bill that we're building right now? Fund DHS, throw in a bunch of other projects that Republicans want, throw in a bunch of codifying agendas of the Trump administration's executive orders, throw in the SAVE Act, and be done with it, because that's the only way that I think Republican voters are going to turn out in November and say, yeah, let's vote for Republicans over Democrats. Democrats are so loony right now, they voted to a redistricting in Virginia, going from a 6-5 majority in congressional seats to a 10-1. How crazy is that? And again, it's going to be challenged in court. I think it's going to be shot down, but they don't care. They say, if you want to play our games, we're going to show you how much of a master we are at the games, because we're the ones that set the rules for the game. They're the kids that play the board game, and when they start to lose, they change the rules in the middle of the game, and then when they start to lose again, they overturn the board game and say, I'm going home because I'm tired of playing. That's what we're up against. and we have to play by those rules. Unfortunately, we have to play dirty, we have to play hard, we have to cram it down their throat, and then we have to tell them to say, thank you, I want another one. That's what Republicans have to do, and until they do that, I don't think Republican voters are that enthused to turn out in November. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. Lots more coming up.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, nice work, my man.
Thank you.
The world follows. Our energy powered the 20th century. We've set the standard for generations, and we never waited for permission. But now, we're being held back. Outdated rules, endless delays. Without permitting reform, Washington's red tape is slowing us down while other nations race ahead. It doesn't have to be this way. We can clear the way for energy that's affordable, reliable, and built right here. Because what's built here is felt here. Lower costs, more jobs, stronger communities. That's what permitting reform makes possible. Energy didn't just shape our country, it powered the American dream. And with our innovation, we can lead the 21st century. Congress has a choice. Build America's energy future or risk falling behind. Tell Congress, pass permitting reform now.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left finds new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back. And that's where we can help. Head to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can find our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Let us know your thoughts on current events with different surveys and chat rooms. And keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Plus, when you head to the website, you can always get great deals and different offers from all of our great radio partners. Finally, if you want more of the show, you can find our podcasts with all of our great episodes and your favorite guests. And make sure to check out the latest Voice of Reason infomercials and maybe some other special content. And it's all because of you being part of the Hoosier-holic family. Let's continue to fight for conservative common sense principles together by going to HooserReason.com. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? How did two guys in a cramped California garage reimagine the phone and put the power of the universe at our fingertips? At Americans for Prosperity, we believe greatness can happen anywhere. We just need freedom and the opportunity to make it real. But today, with a rigid system stifling progress, limiting creativity, and holding us back. That's why at AFP, we offer solutions that tackle the most critical challenges facing our country, so there's nothing standing in the way of America's next breakthrough. Because what we build today doesn't just shape the future, it defines it. How will you be defined? Take your first step today with Americans for Prosperity.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
It's America's political therapist. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back into the program. Great to have you here. Was that a little too far? Was that too far, being too strong? Andy, you're so mean. You're not working bipartisanly. Compromise is totally gone in society. Just to throw it out there, especially in politics. Washington, D.C., compromise is gone. Compromise, and I've said this before on the program, In today's terms, compromise means that we as Republicans give up all of our values and what we want to just go along with whatever Democrats want. Democrats have had that power for a long time. Republicans have forgotten what it's like to have any kind of power like that. And to Democrats, which is why, prime example, current government shutdown, Department of Homeland Security. Well, if you would just separate DHS from the rest of the appropriations process, Republicans, okay, all right, let's go ahead and do that. And they say, we just want to reform ICE a little bit. We'll just make them not wear masks. We'll change their uniforms. We'll get rid of a few detention facilities. We just want some basic common sense reform. Just like, right? Common sense gun laws, common sense gun reforms. That's what they say. Okay, fine. We separated it. Now they're saying, all right, well, we're going to hold up FEMA. We're going to hold up border security because, well, we've had 0 illegal crossings in the past year under the Trump administration. We're going to hold all that up until we separate ICE from the rest of DHS. Then we'll pass DHS. We'll just do that one because their end goal is to let the funds dry up over the next couple of years to where we can just shut down ICE altogether. They'll never do any reforms. They'll never be content. They've turned away from the table for all negotiations, and they'll just be like, yeah, we'll just separate this. Then we can fund all that stuff. And Republicans, how dare you hold up funding for FEMA when there's disasters going on all over the place? Because you want to hold on to this corrupt organization like ICE, let's just separate these. And Republicans almost are like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We just compromise and we compromise and we compromise. And what it turns out to be is we give them everything while we give up everything. And that's the compromise in today's terms. It's been done over and over and over again. And it's time for Republicans to start playing the hardball just like that. That's why we voted you in. That's why there's such support for Donald Trump. Even CNN admits when Donald Trump has, among Republicans, a 90 to 95% approval rating is because he don't care. He just says, this is what we're doing. We're going to get her done. And regardless of whether it's popular at the time or not, I know it's going to be better at the end of the day. People respect that. Congress, get your you-know-what together, man. Let's get her done. Yeah. By the way, speaking of things going on this weekend, there is some other piece of information.
What's trending today?
Regarding the nation of Iran, apparently the Trump administration has canceled the trip of individuals to go, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, their trip to Pakistan to continue on with conversations because the Iranian leaders, whoever that is at the moment right now, they have proposed and given their proposal for continued talks and continued negotiations, not nearly as good as what the Trump administration wants. Donald Trump, just about an hour ago from this program, sent out a tweet that said, quote, I just canceled the trip of my representatives going to Pakistan to meet with Iranians. Too much time wasted on traveling, too much work. Besides which, there's a tremendous infighting and confusion within their, quote, leadership. Nobody knows who's in charge, including them. Also, we have all the cards. They have none. If they want to talk, all they have to do is call. I think he's starting to get a bit frustrated, maybe just a little bit impatient, which is rightfully so. Now, there's obviously unorganized chaos from the Iranian leadership on who's actually doing these negotiations. It reinforces the argument that we should just wipe out the entire leadership and say, hey, Persian Iranian people, you should probably take your government over again. Here's a few arms. Let's get rid of that leadership, and let's get rid of the Muslim Islamist organization that's been running that place for the last 47 years because you're not a Muslim country. And you've tried to forcefully convert. It hasn't worked. Hey, Iranian people, do your thing and just get rid of them. Stop negotiating with them whatsoever. Donald Trump has been more than patient with these individuals. And for a guy who wants a business deal to get things done, I can sense he's getting a little bit impatient. And their negotiations just continue to drag along because to them, it's politics. We say we're going to work with you. We drag our feet. We come up with a non-negotiating starting point and then say, oh, okay, you want more? Well, I guess we got to go back to the drawing table. It's games. And all the while making the economy here struggle a little bit more than it should be, which is completely unnecessary. We'll talk about some of that agenda when we come back around the corner with Americans for Prosperity. Lots more coming up. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When you choose Patriot Mobile,
all right, nice work, my man.
A wireless provider, you're choosing a company that shares your values.
As long as it's
it's
sounding
easy
good
to
on your
switch,
end.
and you
sounding great.
phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile,
We should do
you
this for
get
a
the
living.
power of nationwide
Hey, imagine.
on all three.
Imagine it.
Imagine that.
That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US based
I gotta pitch the
because
show
we
to
believe
Phil
that
again for him
support
to
should
pick
come
me
from
up.
people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
Andy's latest product.
The Hispanic community is radically diverse in the United States. Some would say as unique and diverse as the food they eat.
The diversity of this community, as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
And now you can enjoy the flavor and diversity that every member of the Hispanic community gets to enjoy every single day. Jill Biden's very all-new breakfast taco special from the Voice of Reason.
Hola amigos, I'm Adan, your Jill Biden breakfast taco. Now you too can enjoy the unique, diverse flavors of Mexico and Latin American with me.
Adon the breakfast taco has everything a growing boy, girl, undecided, or other may need.
Start off with a thick layer of potato seasoned with fresh and delicate spices of Mexico and cook to perfection.
The potatoes show not only are we tough on the outside, but soft and lovable on the inside.
Next, enjoy the 2 large huevos. No breakfast taco is complete without our famous huevos. They are there for all to enjoy.
What comes next in the delicacies is the true sign of diversity and uniqueness in the culture, as there are just too many options.
Chicken, carne asada, chorizo, pork, bacon, vegetarian, the choices are endless. We have a flavor for everyone, but you won't know if you like it until you try it, and we like it all.
Finally, your Jill Biden Adon breakfast taco is always personalized for you with the specially unique and diverse toppings only found in the ever-expanding diverse culture of Latin America.
Top me off with your favorite great tasting cheese, sour cream, or gravy. But don't forget, what sets your breakfast taco apart from any other breakfast taco is a little spice.
Forget the salsa from the supermarket. It's time to do the real spicy direct from Mexico with the slices of jalapeno, habanero, or red chilies. Plus top all off with your favorite Valentina or Tapatio.
Show off your unique diversity with your very own Jill Biden breakfast burrito from the Voice of Reason. Order now and multiply your diversity with 2 Jill Biden breakfast tacos, all for the price of 1. It's the Voice of Reason's Jill Biden breakfast taco. Are you diverse enough? Coming to a restaurant near you.
Ándale, ándale.
Andy's latest product. Find more products from the Voice of Reason online at HooserReason.com. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser. Are you still battling COVID-19? Wanting to find ways to limit your exposure to viruses that kill off humanity? Oh, the humanity! Now you can! It's time for you to get the all-new Voice of Reason product, the CDC Rona Fan. The CDC Rona Fan is not like your everyday ordinary fan. The CDC Rona Fan is the latest in technology that uses the unique and original purification process called the Breath of Fauci. And it's simple to use.
Oh my gosh, I just got my CDC Rona Fan and it's perfect. I can feel the COVID particles disintegrating out of the air in my home. And even though it's wintertime, I just open my window wide open, I'll slide my CDC Rona Fan right in, crank it up to full blast, and now I can have as many people over for the holidays as I want. And I'll never have to worry about transferring the virus to anybody. Just feeling the chill in the air, I know now that I'll never get sick again. Thanks, Rona Fan.
The CDC RonaFan kills the Ronavirus at the same rate of any immunity your body can build. And it comes in all shapes and sizes to best fit your preferred personal identity and housing decor.
My mommy and daddy got the Fauci fan yesterday. They opened up all the windows of the house and put the fan in every one of them. They said it would make me nice and healthy. I can't feel my toes because it's so cold now, but they told me now that the Donald Trump virus won't kill me. They must be right when they tell me to listen to the government and do everything that they tell me to.
Order now and for a limited time, get an additional CDC RonaFan half off. But wait, there's more. If you order now, you'll also receive the CDC-approved Fauci bobblehead. Scare off deadly viruses just by placing your Fauci totem in each room. Battle the Rona with freedom and Fauci-controlled options with your voice of reason, CDC RonaFan.
When reason meets radio. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back to it. Great to have you here for your weekend edition. Moving along through this hour of your weekend edition of the program. You know, we're looking towards the midterm season now, and policy in Washington, D.C., Congress back in action, doing, well, what Congress does, which is always interesting to watch and fun to pay attention to. But are we really focusing on the right of things, and especially with the affordability agenda, which has been the priority for many in Congress? That's where I want to spend some time with our next guest on the program as we go to our...
Let's go to the Hoosier Media Hotline.
That's right. Permitting reform, energy reform, trying to get the economy back up and going the way it needs to do so. Really happy to have on the show with our great partners on the show with Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org. And I want you to go to their website, americansforprosperity.org/affordability. Look at the affordability agenda as these guys have been working on it and getting that information out there. Happy to have on the managing director for AFP, the man himself, Kent Strang, back on the show. Kent, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you, Andy. How are you?
Doing good. It's always good to chat with you. What a week it's been. It's always a crazy week, especially the uncertainty of the Trump administration's fun to watch and pay attention to. But I'm optimistic as we go further into a midterm season. I know it's usually favorable to the minority party, but there's a lot of things going on. And if Congress could work on some of the agenda that you guys have come out with, we would be in really good shape in the country, I think.
Well, that's 100% right. I'd love for Congress to focus on affordability because there's a great story for Congress to tell. Look, all we have to do is go back to the failures of the Biden administration. We all remember the pain of Bidenomics, 40-year high inflation, and left the average American family paying $11,400 more just to maintain their lifestyle. And then President Trump and Republicans come along and they pass the one big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, that put $3,700 in tax cuts back in people's pockets. It expanded offshore drilling. It made great provisions for small businesses to reinvest in their businesses, Main Street businesses too, the people that we support every single day, to lower costs. And there's a great story for them to tell, and we need to continue to focus on that. And we got a little bit of good news today when it comes to Iran. The President Trump is going to help us at the gas pump a little bit more because he extended the Jones Act waiver for another 90 days, which is great news for those of us who are concerned with prices at the gas pump.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. For those that don't know, break down the Jones Act. What is this? And this extension really allowing kind of the flow of energy across the country more so than usual. But talk to us about what this bill actually is.
Well, the Jones Act is a 100-year-old maritime bill, and the rule basically says that moving any kind of cargo between U.S. ports, it has to travel on a ship that is U.S. built, U.S. owned, and crewed by Americans. Now, that might sound super patriotic, but not really. It's protectionism, and it limits supply, it slows delivery, and it drives up costs for Americans at the gas pump because it can cost more to move energy from Texas to the Northeast than it does getting oil from overseas, and that makes a big impact on our petroleum prices and our fertilizer prices.
So then why do we have this in place in the first place, and why don't we just repeal the thing altogether as opposed to just doing a suspension on it?
We should 100% call on Congress to repeal it entirely. That is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. And from time to time, when we have crises or national emergencies or hurricanes, we suspend the Jones Act. And I've been doing a lot of research on this, and I can't find a single reason to keep the Jones Act. But it comes from Woodrow Wilson to try to encourage shipmaking in the United States. But here's the problem. We only have 2 shipyards that build commercial cargo ships, and they only produce 1 or 2 vessels per year. But meanwhile, in South Korea, they churn out 200, and China, who we don't typically want to succeed, are churning out 1,000 annually. And what does that do? What it does is a recent study shows that it increases U.S. petroleum costs by roughly $769 million per year. And another study estimates that the Jones Act could boost U.S. GDP by $3.2 billion annually. And so it makes a big impact on our economy because we have this protectionist policy saying that we can only ship goods on American-made and American-crewed ships rather than letting the free market do the work and let the cheaper product go so we can deliver costs at a lower price.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of a common sense practice. It sounds like we do need to repeal this one. And it sounds like not only this bill, but there's a lot of bills. There's a lot of regulations. Heck, we saw this even during the tariff conversation and some of the trade deals a while back when Trump was trying to renegotiate those, that we just have a lot of practices in Washington right now that are stale and old and from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago that we've never updated, that are completely irrelevant in our time. And if we're not building ships nowadays, which is why apparently, like you said, they tried to put this in place in the first time, that we wanted to trying to encourage more shipbuilding. If we're not doing that nowadays, why in the world would we keep a bill like this in place?
Oh, it clearly doesn't work because we're not making any ships here. It's not lowering costs. And so I think it's just a great opportunity when we see things like what's happening in Iran now. The Strait of Hormuz is open and it's closed, and there's a lot of uncertainty there. And it makes up 20% of the world's petroleum and 30% of the world's fertilizer. It shows us these gaps in our system. And this is one of those gaps that, hey, we want to be energy dominant in America. Yeah. And it ought to be incredibly easy to move from port to port, from Alaska to California, or from Texas to the Northeast where they don't have as many pipelines. And then I think about LNG. The United States is the number 1 producer of LNG in the world, and we move most of that through pipelines. But not everywhere has the pipeline for LNG. We don't have a single Jones Act compliant tanker that can move LNG. And that impacts places like Hawaii, and it impacts places like Puerto Rico, who pay a lot more for natural gas and products like that. And it hurts their citizens, and it hurts the economy because things cost more and they get less.
Wow. That's insane. You mentioned the fertilizer. I know that U.S. Senator Roger Marshall, my senator here in the state of Kansas, has been talking about trying to propose a bill for fertilizer, making more fertilizer here in the United States, along with the ability to try and get it around the country as we need to. I know it's a little late for a lot of farmers right now, as they've already been in the fields trying to put the seed in the ground for the springtime planting season, but I don't know why we became so dependent on foreign fertilizer for so long to have it imported, and now we're having this issue. But is that going to help, trying to actually increase this demand and increase the production of fertilizer here in the U.S. of A? Is that going to help us in the long term, do you think?
Well, I applaud Senator Marshall for trying to find ways to be able to produce more energy and fertilizer. I come from a farm family, and I can tell you that we need to fix this problem. Fertilizer is a major input cost into farming that goes to your table. Diesel fuel as well. You got to have diesel to put it in the ground, and you got to have diesel to ship it. And so when we have 30% of our fertilizer tied up in the Strait of Hormuz, the problem is we have so many regulatory burdens that a lot of that we can't do here in the United States. I think about anhydrous ammonia that we put on our fields to be able to plant corn. It takes a lot of nitrogen to plant corn, and we can't even produce that in the United States because of the regulatory burdens. One thing we could call on Congress to do right now, we've talked about it a million times, is to pass what's called permitting reform. What that really means is it takes longer to get permits than it does to build the projects themselves. And so when we look at being able to build places to create fertilizer or power plants, or the grid we need, transmission lines and pipelines, even housing, it's permitting, red tape, and delays that stop us from doing that. And if we could have common sense regulatory rules and regulations that do not stop us from building in America, we could unleash fertilizer, we could unleash those transmission lines, we could unleash American energy dominance, but we need Senate Democrats to get on board. The House has already passed a bunch of these acts, like the SPEED Act, to be able to streamline our permitting process. Senate Dems are standing on the sideline. They seem to be just fine and okay with not making America more competitive.
Yeah, that's wild. Are we getting better with some of the permitting reform? I know now with the changes with the EPA and Lee Zeldin with what he's done and trying to get rid of some of the alternative energy stuff, the new energy push that we've had under the Biden administration, the Obama administration, they've really tried to work closer with the Department of Energy and others on some of the regulations and deregulating a lot of that industry. Are we moving in the right direction right now?
We are, and kudos to the administration and kudos to Lee Zeldin and President Trump. And one of the first things that President Trump did was he took a lot of President Biden's Green New Energy Deal executive orders and he repealed them. He got rid of them. And thank goodness he did, because gas prices today would be much worse if he didn't do that. And so I don't want to make it seem like we haven't made progress. We have.
Yeah.
But what is so important is we have to codify that into law. Because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want, say, President Newsom, heaven forbid, or a President AOC or Bernie Sanders to come along and undo all of that good work. And so Congress ought to be looking at those reforms that the administration, that Zeldin and Trump have done, and codify it into law so we can maintain American energy dominance and continue to do more. We've done good steps. We got to keep going.
Well, yeah, we got to keep going. I mean, yeah, we've been the most productive administration in modern American history. Donald Trump has done more on all the fronts, especially the economy, than really any president has in a very long time. Just months into his administration, he was able to bring gas prices back down to what they were when he left office, which was some of the lowest gas prices we had seen in a very long time. So the permitting reform, the tax cuts, the economy getting things going, the massive amount of investments and new business wanting to invest in the nation and get things going again has been record-breaking. We have to showcase that, and we have to market that into the campaigns and let Republicans show that that's what the messaging is that they need to run on. So we'll talk about some more of that when we come back around the corner. It's Kent Strang, Managing Director for Americans for Prosperity, americansprosperity.org. Go and check them out. We got lots more to get to when we come back around the corner for this hour of your Voice of Reason's Weekend Edition. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
For too long, Washington has said no to builders, workers, and American.
All right, nice work, my man. One more segment for you.
Here we go.
Delay and special interests. Let's flip that.
This is pre-recorded now, right?
More housing and
gotcha. I thought so.
Mandates that block it. Yes to permitting American energy, and no to endless red tape. Yes to putting patients in charge of healthcare, and no to letting insurance companies call the shots. Higher costs? No. An affordable America? Yes.
Hey, did you know that you can have multiple different networks on one single smartphone? Well, with Patriot Mobile, you can. It's time for you to sign up for the Patriot Mobile primary phone plan with plans as low as $15 a month, where you can have 2 numbers and 2 networks on one single phone. And right now, if you sign up using the promo code REASON, you can get an entire month absolutely free. It's the Patriot Mobile One plan. 1 phone, 2 numbers, and 2 networks. And it's all at patriotmobile.com/reason. Again, patriotmobile.com, and use the promo code REASON. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger?
Our country's greatest breakthroughs were born from bold ideas and the ability to take one small step forward. At Americans for Prosperity, freedom and opportunity find their defenders. Because our country's next giant leap is just around the corner. Are you ready to step up?
For more information, go to takeonesmallstep.com.
Hey, the live show may be almost over today, but it doesn't have to be for you. As always, enjoy the Voice of Reason with our daily podcast by finding the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites. Just find us, subscribe, have it automatically downloaded, and listen at your convenience whenever you want to bring some more reason into your day. And a lot of people are doing it. Also, you can always find the video of the show, along with articles, additional commentary, and maybe a few sarcastic remarks by following us on our social media. Stay up to date with everything going on with the show, including upcoming guests, breaking news stories, interesting articles, and maybe some memes. Help us in the ongoing battle with censorship and shadow banning from social media by following us on the social media at Hooser Reason on all of our social media sites. For all the social media links, podcast links, contact information, or just general information of the show, go to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can listen live every day, read our latest monthly blog, find our radio affiliate list, or even listen to our latest infomercials and special content. Plus, you can always reach out to the program by sending me a message on social media, emailing us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or sending an email through our website at HooserReason.com. Whether it's content on the show, whether it's a guest that you've liked or disliked, or whether you want to disagree with me, and disagreement's always appreciated. While you're there, make sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. Each month, you'll get the latest update on the show, updates from the Hooser Media Network, and our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Finally, if you want to help support the show, become a member of our Patreon site and help us fight for the cause of truth, reason, and common sense every day, and get more of the same by becoming the ultimate Hoosierholic. Get additional interviews that sometimes we don't always get to air on the radio. Hear our special segments or even our infomercials before anyone else, and have a chance to chat with other great Hoosierholics from all over. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, you're not only helping the fight for conservative values, you're helping us get more content and information out through the Hooser Media Network. Find out more information online at HooserReason.com. Lastly, follow and support all of our partners with the show. The Voice of Reason has been growing more and more every year, and it's because of so many great partners helping us get the message out to you. From show partners to local radio affiliates in your area to streaming sites, podcasting sites, and more, we have so many supporters and listeners now than ever before, and we want to thank you. It's time to bring back common sense, and we do it right here every day with the Voice of Reason.
Talk radio for the next generation. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back to it. Great to have you here. We got one segment left as we're wrapping things up for this hour of your Voice of Reason. Always a pleasure. We're hanging out with Ken Strang. He's the managing director for our friends at Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. The Jones Act that has been suspended by the Trump administration. We just need to repeal it, along with reforming and getting rid of a lot of other laws and regulations that are just completely outdated from, 50, 60, 70 years ago, which is kind of crazy. Ken, I got to ask you real quick, though, tariffs. We've heard the news that we have at least had to pay back some of the tariff revenue in this nation to different countries. We're trying to renegotiate trade deals. The uncertainty, we're going to put a tariff on, renegotiate, pay back tariffs, try to renegotiate again. All of this uncertainty, what's that doing to the economy right now, do you think?
Sure. Well, our economy never likes uncertainty. And what I go back to is what really drives investment into the United States of America. And that is a pro-growth tax code. And we started that in 2017 with President Trump's tax cuts. And if those were to expire, it would have led to the biggest tax hike in American history. And then when we extended those with the Working Families Tax Cut, or the One Big Beautiful Bill, whatever term we want to use for it, one thing that did is that it made the corporate tax rate permanent. And that does provide certainty. It also made it so businesses could depreciate 100% of their machinery. And so that makes America an incredibly great place to do business. I can grab machinery with my capital. I can depreciate it. I can expand my operations. I can expand my business. And what does that do? That means I need more people. I can hire more individuals, hire more Americans. And that's when we can see great investment coming to the United States. Look, I'm a free trader. I would like to see tariff barriers come down significantly. I think when we are able to trade freely, it raises all ships. That doesn't necessarily mean our adversaries, right? There's some good foreign policy reasons why we might look at those various policies. But I think the most important thing we can do to drive American competitiveness when it comes to bringing business to the United States is continue to have a great tax code, cut government spending so there isn't uncertainty, and drive really great pro-growth policies so businesses want to be here for the long term.
Yeah, amen to that for sure. Kent, we got a few minutes left here as we wrap things up, but I want to go to the midterm season for just a moment. And I want to ask you particularly, not just the voter in general, which is about ready to head to the polls in a few months based on however we message this campaign, but particularly small business owners and business owners across the nation with some of the uncertainty, but again, with some of the biggest wins that we've seen economically under the Trump administration for the past year as one of the most productive administrations. Where do you think their mindset is in order to drive them to the polls come November? Do you think that some of the wins that we have had are going to help them get to the polls?
It certainly has to. We talk at Americans for Prosperity, you know this, we talk to Americans every single day.
Yeah.
We've talked to over 1.5 million Americans at their doorstep about the working families tax cut. I think Republicans have a really good message to tell about this economy, about the deregulation that you mentioned, about the tax cuts, about the corporate rates, and about how they can deliver an economy. Look, I also see the boom that's going to happen with the AI revolution. It's the next wheel. It's the next industrial revolution. And we have to be able to compete with China to be able to harness that next great American innovation. And I think it's so important that Republicans focus that message to real Americans every single day. How did they address the cost of living? How did they stop the biggest tax hike in American history? How did they usher in those pro-growth policies? How did they cut back those regulations? Because it's still at the top of mind. You and I know this. It's kitchen table issues that Americans go vote on. It's can I get my gas cheap? Can I go to the grocery store and feel like I filled up my cart and not paid hundreds of dollars? And so we need to meet Americans where they are, talk to them about how to lower prices, how to live and invest and thrive and live your American dream, how to lower housing costs so we can get that piece of the American pie, right? And so I think if Republicans have a good story to tell, they have to continue to drive that messaging, continue to go further, pass good policies that Americans feel in their pocketbook. And hey, it was just tax day. They probably have $3,700 in their pocket. That ought to feel good for Americans.
That's right.
There's more they can do.
Yeah, well, we got lots more to do, but you're right. We have so many wins. We just have to remind people about it. It's all about the messaging. I hope Republicans do the proper messaging for the election, and that's why you guys are the rock stars at it, being the largest grassroots organization in the nation right now, because you guys are spot on with all your messaging that we do, and that's why I love working with you for sure. It is the managing director for our friends at Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org. Go and check out all the great information. Kent, always a pleasure, my friend. We love the chat. Can't wait to do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, you bet. Always a pleasure. Again, Kent Strang with Americans for Prosperity. And we are out of time, my friends. It flies by way too fast. We'll have to do it again before you know it. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It is the voice of reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio soon. Bye.
Andy, thanks so much, my man. Great show. Have a good weekend.